3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Morning, Mama.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm great.
You want to talk about hustle today?
Yeah, let's talk about hustle.
So something happens on this show. We've come to find out a couple of times where we think we know what a book is going to be about, and then we get 3/4 of the way through it and we go, uh-oh, this isn't what we wanted to talk about. But that's not to say that what we did read doesn't give us new lines of thought and so forth. But sometimes you're just like, wait, this wasn't what I was after. Is that what happened here?
Congratulations on getting 3/4 of the way through the book. I didn't get that far before I got that.
That might have been a little generous.
Yeah, I got about a chapter in and thought, this is not what I thought it was.
Yeah.
Do me a favor, move that mic a little bit closer, kind of bend it like towards that way. There you go.
Good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So how did you describe this author's kind of writing style? And what's the name of this book first off?
This book is called Hustle and Float. And this author, she's a creative. That's her job is to write, but she jumped into this research. And what I got was a summary of a lot of research.
Yeah.
And I felt like if I was in management and not education, maybe this would be something that I would read and that I would apply on the job. But this was not something that I could apply on the job.
Yeah. Rahaf Harfouche. Hope I'm saying that right.
You're saying that right.
Okay. Coincidentally enough, much probably to these guys' chagrin, she's able to tie in automation and burnout. And what was the other one? There was one more thing, wasn't there?
Oh, there was a lot.
That we've recently talked about?
Yeah, burnout. I've lost it.
Maybe not. Those two specifically.
There were several things that... universal basic income.
Yeah.
UBI, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, aside from the book, you know, what is driving you to want to speak about hustle in general?
Well, if you've known me for a few minutes,
Couple, yes.
You know that every year I pick a word. I pick a word to ruminate on for the year, a word to guide my life.
Mm-hmm.
And since I started doing this about 8 years ago, I've found that I don't always pick the word picks me.
Mm.
And in the fall is when I start to think about the word for the next year. And hustle kept coming to me. And my church published some things about hustle, and I kind of realized that I've hustled my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, hustle can mean a bad thing. It can mean making money in a not very, ethical way. But it also can, I think, be a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
In the end, I didn't end up choosing hustle as my word, but it kept coming to me through different things. And I came to realize that hustle's been my way of life since I was 15 years old.
Mm-hmm. So what ended up being your word? Are we allowed to know, or is that
Yeah,
like
you're allowed to word. Yeah. I always announce my word on January 1st. My word this year is nourish.
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 Okay.
I need to nourish a lot of things, not just my body, my relationships, my head, my heart. And yeah, the body needs some nourishment too.
Yeah.
Better nourishment.
Nourish is a good one. I mean, those two can, you know, apply in one session at the gym. You're running so that you can nourish yourself. You have that in the back of your mind that you need to have better nourishment, I guess. But
yes, because I don't know if you know this, but you cannot out-exercise a bad diet.
that's right. We're learning that
And
quickly.
I am poster child for not being able to out-exercise a bad diet.
But I actually want to talk to you about that. You're probably one of the pickiest eaters I know in my life. Yet you've lost, an entire. Probably your weight now doubled over the last 8 years, something like that.
I've kept it off. I've kept it off for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I lost it in about 6 months.
Yeah. So to tie back to hustle, I mean, you're probably not the poster child for vegetable eating and counting calories.
I am the poster child for not vegetable eating.
Uh-huh. So
Yeah.
so what? I can remember you saying that you run a lot so that you can eat French fries.
I run a lot so I can eat. Period. I love to eat.
So would you say that somebody's out there and they're trying to stick to their New Year's resolution and they're eating 1,500 calories a day and they're measuring it? Do you feel like that's overkill, or do you feel like there's that like hustle can in some way make up for maybe eating that's not to a dietitian's agenda?
Absolutely, because I'm the poster child for that. I track my calories. It's just calories in versus calories out, and I always make sure. No, I try to make sure that I have more calories out than calories in.
Mm-hmm.
Because
so
I don't
measuring
like
that.
good food. I like good food. I don't like good food.
Comfort food.
I like food that's good to the palate,
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily good for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore I run a lot, and I need to lift. I need to get some muscle on this old woman body.
Yeah.
Just haven't gotten there yet.
So I like the articles that are from Crossroads, probably more than the book, pushing you to hustle outside of your normal just 8 to 5. You guys run some side hustles or?
The DJ business, lifting. I think that's it.
No hustle too small. I like that idea. I mean, any little thing that you can pick up that, and then not rejecting something that's maybe small, and then like picking up those small things and like building up yourself, and can build into something larger and substantial.
And it doesn't have to build into anything larger and substantial.
True.
I'll give you a case in point. One year, my youngest son wanted to play AAU basketball. And I really didn't have that in my budget to be able to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I looked around for a side hustle that I could do on my own terms when I wanted to do it. And so I picked up something that most people who are professionals, who have a college degree, an advanced degree, and 20 years of experience probably would not ever even consider. But I worked alongside our school custodians in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
In the final analysis, nobody pays me for cleaning the toilets at my own house, but I do it. So why not get paid for it?
Sure.
No hustle too small.
Yeah. So the tie with automation, man and machine, chapter 13 of the book, made my ears perk up. It's sort of talking about how quickly we're going to realize that that man doesn't need work as much as, or man needs work more than work needs man, and that eventually we're going to be forced to analyze our hustle.
Right, and I think that's the chapter that she started to talk about UBI. That UBI had failed in other countries because we didn't realize how much of our self-identity is wrapped up in work.
Right.
So if work is gone, as it will be due to automation, if work is gone because your country has gone to UBI, where do you get your self-identity? How do you counteract the negative effects of not feeling like you have a purpose?
Right. Yeah, you have here the gig economy as exploding attitudes about work to profit by creating a unsubstantial economic model where workers struggle to earn a livable wage. I picked up a side hustle just, you go short on money, you're like, okay, what are my talents and what can I kind of figure out to do? So throw up an ad on Craigslist and see where it goes. Like, hey, I can do a little bit of drafting. If anybody needs some drafting help, let me know. I had no idea whether it was I was going to make nothing, or that's kind of what I thought was going to happen. But I was really surprised that there's like a niche market out there of folks that have projects that are too small to go to an architecture firm, and they just need something drawn. It could be a simple kitchen remodel, or they want to build a deck or whatever. But you take those to an architecture firm and they're going to laugh at you. Like, don't got time for that. So
Right.
found that there was something that I could do easily and, make a little cash off of it.
I think that's true in a lot of fields. I think all four of us sitting at this table could find some way with what we have by way of technology and the way that we're constantly connected, that you can connect to people that need something that you can offer. I'm currently tutoring a student who lives in New York City. I couldn't have done that 5 years ago.
Right.
But I can use this computer that's in front of me, and I can use what we have, and I can connect with her once a week.
Yeah. Do you feel that you ever get just too weighed down with the work, though?
Yes. My husband and I talk about balance all the time. And I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm old.
You're not old. Travis is old. You're not.
Oh, yeah, I heard that. I did hear that. Yeah.
We got to get our once an episode joke on Travis.
Yeah. The older I get, the more I realize that you can't work all the time. And there has to be a time that I remember a time that we weren't connected 24/7. So I can still leave my phone and it doesn't bother me. I know that people younger than me can't get away from their phones. Younger teachers who I work with have their school email go to their phones, and they're constantly connected and constantly answering questions from kids or from their parents all night long. I don't do that. I purposely don't have my school or work email come to my phone. I don't want to be connected once I leave the building.
Yeah, it's sort of like, I think it's Nick Saban's quote, "Be where your feet are." I've always liked that.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
You're at work, be at work. If you're at the gym, be at the gym. If you're with your kids, be with your kids. Quit trying to be in 15 places at once.
Yeah, and I think one of the Crossroads articles talked about crushing your side hustle, your most important hustle, which is your family.
Yeah.
And it when you're with your family, to crush that side hustle. And I think that's really important.
Yeah.
I think we get really lopsided if we put all of our identity in work, and we get really lopsided if we put all of our identity in being a parent or being a spouse. There has to be a balance.
Yeah.
In all things, there has to be balance. And it's taken me a lifetime to figure it out. And I don't have it all figured out yet, but that is one of the benefits of being old, is that you do figure it out eventually.
Well, it sort of harpens back to a couple weeks ago. We were talking about the subtle art of not giving a fuck, choosing the things that actually matter to dedicate your time and your hustle, and building your immortality projects, as he calls them. And that's, your kids are your biggest ones.
I really connected with that book.
Yeah,
I haven't read it yet, but I really liked that one.
you should. It's funny, and it's very informative. So
Well, I quoted a little bit of it during a run yesterday to my husband about not giving so many fucks, and I think he thought it was my words, but yeah, I'm adopting some of that.
yeah,
Now let's make her think about it. Everything I do, I turn into a side hustle. Like, we're doing the podcast, so I had to get sponsors. Like, I started lifting, so I had to get sponsors.
yeah.
It's like, if I'm not making money off of it, I can't do it.
Maybe that would motivate me to lift if I had sponsors to lift. How do you
There
get
you go.
sponsors to lift? I like that.
Yeah, I got that about a week ago.
Yeah, you could definitely get one as much as you run. I mean,
Yeah, no kidding.
get yourself a shoe deal.
Yeah.
Hey,
Asics, is that what they're
Asics.
called?
Oh my gosh, I've worn the same brand and style of Asics for 11 years. I bet I've had 40 pairs of them.
11 years.
11 years.
Wow. I can remember going to the Y, because you started running in 2008. Is that our freshman year? 2008, 2009?
08, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was when you started running, right?
yeah.
Because that was the first year that I ran cross country in high school. Did you run
Right.
that year? Did you
Yeah.
run freshman year? Brad ran too.
Right.
And I can remember going to the Y, and you could maybe run a half mile.
Maybe that was stretching it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I
And-
would run for a minute and then I'd have to stop for 3 minutes to get some oxygen.
Right. And you're also running in the summer, so it's probably 90 degrees also. So
Right.
you kind of just forced yourself to make it happen. I mean, you're out there in the sweltering heat and going up and down hills, and you don't even know if you get 2 miles out into the woods, if you can even get back at that point.
Right.
So you're running a half a mile, and then you're walking for a while, and then you're running, and then you build yourself all the way up into a multi-time marathon runner.
Correct. I went from couch potato to marathon runner in 14 months.
I was just telling Dallas this week, it was like I came over one day during the summer and I seen you. You looked the same as I always remembered you. The next time I came over, it was like half a person. Wow, it was fast.
The first 20 pounds came off in 1 month. I wish I could do that today.
Your time for that is coming.
Yeah.
Some news for you. Me and Brad are going to be involved in races at the Flying Pig.
You are.
So Brad's doing the 10K this year. He did the 5K last year at the Red Legs race.
I did 10K at the Pig last year.
Yeah, did the 10K
Nice.
at the Pig. So I want to do the half marathon.
Okay.
So if you're involved in running that one, then we'll be there.
Okay. I'm game.
We've
I'm
been
up for it.
We've been pondering it for a while. We're also on a 50-day challenge right now where we're going to.
We're already struggling.
We're mightily struggling, but we're getting there. We're going to Indy with our friend Shane in the second weekend of March. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. So we were talking about going on this trip, which is just like a 2-day trip. And we were like, what if we have no cheat meals and no alcohol between now and then?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it sucks.
No
already.
wonder you're struggling.
So, yeah, we're, 10-ish days into
Yeah,
that?
right about.
So, yeah. So it's already making a big difference. So we'll see.
Wow.
We'll see where we're at the next episode and see if we're still.
We'll be hammered.
Yeah, could be.
With a plate of nachos in the middle.
But yeah, something to look forward to.
So what are you doing in Indy? Are you running there? Or are
well,
you doing something with Shane there?
we like to go on these quick little trips, or I do. And Brad and I's trips in the past have always been to something involved with the Bearcats, and every time they let us down.
Yeah.
Every single time. So we said maybe this year we should not go to something Bearcats related, and we'll go to something
No
that doesn't
money in the game.
Yeah, doesn't even matter to us. So we're going with Shane to is it Supercross?
Yeah.
Yes, Supercross races out in Indy,
Nice.
and I'm sure we might partake in a little bit of alcoholic beverage tasting
I suggest Ram in downtown Indianapolis.
at a bar.
It's a brewery.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll partake.
I love Indianapolis.
But if we can make it 50 days,
It's a long time.
yeah, I'm sure we'll see a bunch of pounds melt off. And I mean, kind of the hope besides that though is that like entirely new habits will form.
Right. It takes 3 weeks to form a habit.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's like
gotta double
seven
that.
plus weeks. So.
Yeah, kind of like a reset.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm interested in this. So a lot of this book, Hustle and Float, goes through the history of how the United States in particular, but across the world, when the Industrial Revolution happened in the early 20th century, that workers had to rise up and demand, a 40-hour work week and overtime pay, et cetera. And Brad has that side of it, whereas you and I have the side where we're in this new economy where it's a knowledge economy.
Mm-hmm.
And her whole point in all of this research is to say that we have to rise up and demand certain things. In the industrial economy, do people still work like 12 hours a day and 6 days a week and love it?
I don't know about love it, but we do it.
Yeah, I know you do it, but even my little 40-hour week, I don't love it so much. Yeah.
I mean, with us being paid hourly, it's kind of nice because you get the overtime, but at the end of the day, it's not worth it. I missed a lot of time with my son because at that time I wasn't making that much. So I had to work the overtime.
Right.
I think about that. I missed probably a good bit of the first 4 or 5 years of his life.
Right.
It just wasn't worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, but you didn't have a lot of options.
No, I didn't.
I think a lot of people are that way, especially when we're young, and we have our kids when we're young, but those are the very times that we're trying to establish our career, and we have to work the extra time to be able to pay for those kids, to be able to make our way, buy our first house,
Yeah.
pay for a car. Yeah.
I thought the point about creativity, which she talks a lot about, was pretty interesting, because I don't feel that creativity is central to a lot of occupations in our market, but she's kind of describing creativity as in early human history, it was like this gift of the gods, right?
Right.
And it wasn't expected of just anybody to have a sense of creativity. But later on, it becomes, as the generations have unfolded, creativity has been like this demanded aspect, or like this really highly valuable asset in the market. So it's been like this kind of funny transition.
Right. I think her whole point in that is that creativity is linked more to not just the arts, but being able to think and create solutions to problems, and that's the central theme of this knowledge economy. That your creativity is really your knowledge. That back in the early days of the assembly line, it was repetitive tasks that could be boiled down to certain motions, and they could be timed. And our expectations of what workers do have morphed because of technology and this knowledge economy. And she calls it creativity, but I felt like she was really saying it was the knowledge aspect of creativity. That the way I solve a problem might be different than the way you solve a problem. And how do you quantify that? Can you quantify that? You really can't.
Yeah, well, she ties kind of creativity with like this idea of standardizing things and measuring things, and it's what's the business saying? You can't make what you can't measure, or something like, I forget
Right,
what that
yeah.
is. But it made me think, of you as a teacher, and I don't know if you can get into this or not, so feel free to shoot me down on this. But I mean, this drive of standardization, has that reduced your teachers' ability to just be creative in the aspect of just teaching kids?
Oh, absolutely. And you have all these metrics that you have to meet, and now in the state of Ohio, they've backed off of this, but for a few years in the state of Ohio, half of your evaluation was not based on anything you did in the classroom. It was not based on anything observable in the classroom by administration. Half of your yearly evaluation was based on student performance on a one-day test. 50% of my evaluation, I could be the most creative, most fantastic, most loving teacher in the whole world, and I could still get half of my evaluation shot down if those kids did not do well on a test one day.
If you just got a class full of uneducated kids, it affected your whole year then.
Correct. Or if you teach in a district, a low-income district, where they don't have access to, say, the internet.
Yeah.
Like I don't at my house, because it doesn't come to my house.
Well, even deeper than
I'm
that.
there with you on that one.
But I mean, even deeper than that, I mean, how often does the teaching community talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Because I had a class that was in OTR, and we had a lot of students in that class that were teachers that had been assigned to rough neighborhoods, and they had to deal with kids that were coming in that hadn't had dinner the night before or breakfast that morning, and now you're in charge of teaching that kid math.
Right.
That kid doesn't.
They don't care about
yeah,
math.
you got to satisfy the psychological and safety two bottom pillars of the hierarchy to be able to even think about learning.
Right.
So anything else besides that doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
I mean, is that even a topic that comes up, or is it just
Well,
standardized tests?
there is a shift recently in the last couple of years to start looking at trauma and trauma-based instruction. I think there's an understanding that a lot of our kids are coming to us with some sort of trauma in their background. And the lower the socioeconomic level of the community, the more trauma there is. Not to say that in a higher income, higher socioeconomic district, there aren't traumas, because there are.
Sure.
But there tend to be a whole lot more. They call them ACEs, adverse childhood events.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're in those districts, those kids tend to have a whole lot more ACEs. So yeah, we are starting to talk about that more. Unfortunately, though,
has it found its way into curriculum?
It's not found its way into state mandates. It's not found its way into testing.
Yeah. It's so backwards when you're looking at from the outside in. It's like, where else can you possibly start but that? And I don't know, you can't walk into these kids' houses and, make a change from that
Right.
standpoint.
But sometimes school is the only place that they have security and predictability.
Yeah, but if that's not the first step in an education, then I think we're missing the entire point.
I would agree with you.
I think it's just a cycle that kid's gonna, and a lot of times I think it's gonna be their parents. They're gonna stay in the same neighborhood and do the same thing to their kids.
Yeah.
Not always, but it's a cycle.
Yeah.
No, we don't know what we don't know. And if that's all a kid knows,
Yeah.
they don't know any better.
Yeah.
They don't know there's anything different out there.
Yeah.
How do we get down that rabbit hole?
Got
That's
sad.
a little depressing. That's a little depressing. But back to the point about, working those long hours and being happy about it. She brings up the point that happiness becomes a responsibility, where if you're not happy, then the fault is yours for not loving your job enough, not working hard enough. And the whole idea of float is float is actually the opposite of hustle. And float is coming to the realization that it doesn't matter what you do. You can't affect how happy you're going to be on the job, so you ought to just float. You just do as little as possible. When you're on the job, do what you have to do to make your money, and then realize your happiness elsewhere.
I'm trying to find Mark Manson's tweet that he sent out yesterday that directly relates to that.
I think tying back to burnout, that I think that's where burnout as a result of overwork, I think once you get to that point that you realize working isn't making me happy, and there's no way for work to make me happy, is kind of that line that you cross where you get to burnout.
I found it here. He says, the biggest mistake made by all the, quote, how to be happy books out there is that they assume happiness is algorithmic and it can be solved like a Rubik's Cube or studied like an exam. Happiness is not achieved, it's simply there.
I feel like it can be achieved if you're
I think he's saying it's underlying, and you got to like peel back the layers of yourself to just uncover it.
I think you're as happy as you choose to be.
Yeah.
I think if you ruminate on all the negativity that's out there, and there's plenty of it.
Yes.
And the longer you live, the more of it you see and the more of it you experience.
Mm-hmm.
If you choose to ruminate on that, you're not going to be happy.
Yeah.
But if you choose to look for the good things,
Yeah.
and I love that I've heard Brad say it multiple times, this is a first world problem. When my screen on my iPhone is cracked and I'm pissed off about it,
Right.
that is severely first world.
Yeah.
And when I'm mad because every district around me is closed for a snow day and I have to drive through 5 closed school districts to get to my district that did not close, that's a first world problem, kids.
Yeah.
That's a first world problem.
Yeah, to that point, everybody should make a trip to a third world country.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's on my bucket list.
Fiji was really damn nice in the resort, but they're like, you do not venture 2 miles from this resort. You will be mugged,
Right.
or worse. And
Yikes.
we went past. They had like these sugarcane fields, which were cool to see for about 30 seconds. But then you see these guys out there working, just cutting down. Like sugarcane stalk is like 12 feet tall, like it's huge, and they're out there cutting it down with size and throwing it on a wagon. And then they had a train running through town that was smaller than the train at Kings Island, and throwing their sugarcane on this thing. And the rails were just almost just laid down on the ground. The infrastructure was outside of just the main couple of roads was almost nothing. So it takes kind of an experience like that of like actually seeing, you can pull up these pictures online any day, but you're still looking at it from your, $1,500 MacBook. Until you go there and look at it and see it with your eyes and breathe the same air and feel it, like you don't truly understand what a first world problem really is.
Right. Right.
I know what I was going to ask you when we were on the education topic. I know we've kind of skipped back, but what are your thoughts on project-based learning? Has that
Project-based
topic?
learning is a huge movement.
You guys remember this topic, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I would love to be able to do more project-based learning, and my administration would like me to do more project-based learning. But with the current atmosphere of state testing, it takes longer to plan and implement and conduct project-based learning.
But you
And-
can't just implement it yourself, though, can you?
Yeah, if I want to, I can.
Oh.
I can, but as part of the larger curriculum, I still have to.
okay.
I still have to meet
So
those.
they're saying
requirements.
you can try to morph this in with under the parameters of our current curriculum.
Right.
Like the school that we're working with at work they've overhauled their entire system to accommodate this new system, and frankly, I don't know that they know if it's going to work yet or not.
They probably don't.
Right.
In education, we go in these cycles. We'll do this, and then we'll decide we need to do something else, and it'll eventually come back around. Yeah. But
So has this been tried before? Is that what you're saying?
I think it probably has, just under a different name. We just change the names every 20 years or so. We change the names or the acronym. Yeah. But, for example, if I'm teaching a high school geometry class and I want to teach them volume, I can teach it with handouts where we do 3 of the same thing, and then we do 3 more we calculate the volume of that cylinder, or we calculate the volume of some rectangular prism on a worksheet. Or
Do you guys do any of that?
you ever do any of that?
No.
What, in Lynchburg? Where would I have done that?
Or project-based learning, I can say, how long is it going to take me to fill this aquarium if I use pop cans to fill it? And that's it. And I leave it. You figure it out.
Gosh, I like that so much better.
You like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that takes longer. It's going to take how many days for students to figure out, well, what do I need to know? Oh, I need to know what's in that, how much goes in that pop can. How fast does it fill?
Yeah. Do you think there's a danger there that, because we were talking about, Maslow's hierarchy, where that's like, it seems like that sort of takes a deeper level of, how I want to put it, like stick-to-itiveness, I guess, to pursue trying to find that answer versus
Yes.
find the answer to what the area of this room is, something
Right.
like that.
Yeah, it does. And what I have experienced with the boom of the information age is that kids would rather just Google it.
Yeah.
How long will it take to fill an aquarium with a pop can and not really think about it? So yeah, we're constantly fighting that.
Yeah.
When you guys were in school, did you Google answer keys to your homework?
I did.
Not until
Oh,
college.
you guys are old too.
Not until college.
Yeah, I mean, I can't give an assignment without a kid being able to find the answer key online, and then they can fool me. They can make me think that they know what they're doing.
Now I
Oh
got it.
man, they got it good.
Yeah, they are
I
real
had to
good.
cheat like old school.
I gotta tell you a story now. now that I'm through school, have my degree, and they can't hurt me. One time we took a exam that was all online, and we had one really ballsy girl in our studio that was like, "Hey guys, this is what I'm going to do." This was a pretty difficult class. She's like, "This is what I'm going to do." She's like, "As soon as the exam starts, I'm going to hit the button that says end exam, which will then take you to a screen that shows you all of the answers that you just missed and what the correct answer is." She says, "I'm going to hit the wrong button. I'm going to screenshot all the right answers. And then I'm going to say, Mr. Professor, I hit the wrong button and it took me to this screen. Like, can I retake the test?" Meanwhile, she sends out the answer key to everybody.
Awesome.
Happens more often than you know.
I was like, "Oh my God, you are so ballsy." And did I use it?
Absolutely.
You're damn right I did.
Absolutely.
But
I'm
you
sure did.
strategically miss a couple of questions. You can't
Yeah,
just
you
get
can't get everything
You
right.
can't just get 100%.
I was a professional cheater in high school.
Yeah.
So are you a put your phone away, it's absolutely not to be had out in class teacher, or are you
Yeah,
like,
yeah, I'm one of those. Yeah, I'm one of those.
I transferred to a school my senior year, and Lynchburg was strict about like electronics. And I go to this new school, everybody's got their iPods in, phones out, and everything. Nobody's even paying attention to the teacher. There's like 3 of us listening. Well, I wasn't listening, but it was.
you didn't
like,
have your phone out, but you weren't listening?
Yeah, it was like culture shock. It was so different.
Well, and you don't even have to have your phone out to not be listening now. You can have it in
Yeah.
your backpack, and you've got your AirPods in, and if you got some long hair, you just do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, continuous partial attention. That's what I've been dealing with for the last 15 years. Continuous partial attention. Yeah, so let's talk about this the myth of the self-made man.
Yes.
Do you think there's any such thing as a self-made man?
Well, I hadn't really thought about it until I, kind of briefed through that.
Or woman?
Or woman.
Self-made man or
Yeah.
woman?
So it says the myth of the self-made man is pervasive today, especially in entrepreneurial culture, which uses technology as a means to achieve rags to riches narrative that has been at the heart of the American dream. A couple bullet points down. The special snowflake syndrome is characterized by an individual feeling that they are special or more unique than their peers and therefore are deserving of opportunities, success, and recognition. I mean, what were your thoughts on it?
My thought is there's no such thing as a self-made man or woman. That
Mhm.
the only way that we're able to get ahead in life is with the support of other people. I don't think we do it in a vacuum. I think if Travis wants to take his side hustle to the next level, he has to have a support system at home to make sure that everything at home is running smoothly and everything's happening the way it's supposed to happen and everybody's taken care of.
Sure. Yeah, I feel a little bit like since we're all so connected and we're losing kind of that sense of community that, a lot of people, the way that they've been able to aspire to whatever their level of success is because they've had a lot of really good connections around them. And if we start to lose kind of that interconnectedness, for lack of a better word, it's going to be that much harder to build yourself a little bit. I don't know if that came out right.
I think we're incredibly connected digitally, but we're incredibly isolated in reality.
Yeah.
Brad, for example, you are this generation's version of my husband. My husband got his girlfriend pregnant when he was 18, she was 17, and he went to work at the very place that you work. You're like my husband reincarnate. But he had to do a lot of the same things that you've had to do. And you couldn't...
He's balling now.
You could not get yourself ahead if Kelsey wasn't at home making sure the home life runs and that the kids are taken care of. And my husband was the same way with his first wife, with his kids, and he missed out on a lot.
Yeah.
And so you make that sacrifice. So are you really self-made?
Right.
You're not. Those people that
No.
are supporting you as you come along, they're helping make you too.
Yeah.
When I went to college, the first time I graduated with my bachelor's degree in 3 years, and I graduated on a Friday, and I started at Ohio University the following Monday. I moved in on Sunday, and I started classes on Monday.
So you've been hustling forever.
I've been hustling forever.
I mean, the physical hustle is relatively new in your timeline, but the hustle at its core has always been there.
It's always been there. Yeah. Even before college, I got my first job before I turned 16 years old, and I was working until 2 a.m. on Friday night and Saturday night. And one of the things that I was a waitress, and my classmates would go to basketball games, and they'd come in afterwards, and that's where I'd see my classmates when I was waiting on them after they'd been out having a social time. And I was still working once they went home and went to bed. And I took a lot of pride in that when I was younger, that my car payment was more than my parents' car payment when I was 16 years old, because I hustled. And I took a lot of pride in that, but I really shouldn't have, because I really could not have done that without the support of my parents. They had the house that I came back to and slept in. They paid the bills for that house so that I could take a shower there and have electricity. I thought I was self-made. No, it takes a community. It takes a lot of support.
How do you balance sleep in your hustle? Because I just asked because...
What's that? Sleep?
Okay, well, I wondered if that was going to be your answer. But I had that same mentality for a long time until I watched Matthew Walker, I believe is his name. Yeah, on with Joe Rogan. I think it was last year. But he described that the number of people on Earth that are able to maximize at their full capacity under 8 hours of sleep, that number, rounded up to its nearest whole number, is 0%.
Yeah. Well, I joke about sleep, but I really do have a regular sleep schedule now. You can set your watch by me. I'm tired and I need to go to bed at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
But I get up, nowadays I get up at 5. So there's your 8 hours.
Yeah.
I don't always sleep that entire 8 hours, and sometimes I need to medicate to be able to sleep 8 hours. But when I was younger, I didn't sleep enough. But I have come to realize that to be at my best, I need those 8 hours of sleep, and it needs to be regular. So even on a weekend, I can't sleep much past 7 o'clock because I'm used to getting up at 5 o'clock. But when I first started running, and even this past summer when I was marathon training, I'll get up at 4 a.m. and get out on the road by 5 o'clock to beat the heat. But at some point, I have to take a nap to make up for those lost hours of sleep.
Yeah.
Lost sleep can never be found, is what my dad
You guys
always
get a
told
full
me.
8 hours, or are you guys at 6, or what are
4
you?
to 5.
4 to
Usually.
5?
Yikes.
Every night.
Travis,
You roll on
the
that?
body keeps the score.
See,
One of these days.
if right now, if I get like past like 6 hours of sleep, I'm tired all day. If I get like 4 or 5, like I'm good, like all day.
I have well, actually, I have like 6, I think. I feel like I can function pretty well. Less than 6, and I'm struggling.
Yeah, 6 is my minimum too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
But I feel like $1 million if I get 8. So
See, I feel like crap
really,
all day.
we get up at 4 o'clock and go to the gym, and that's my favorite time of day. Which sounds really weird.
No, I understand that.
But
I do.
It feels like you have the entire world to yourself.
That's what I
at
was
that
just
time.
going
You
to
do.
say. Yeah.
And you get up, and especially when we're going to the gym every morning, or 4 days through the week, and you get your workout in, and you take a shower and go off to work, and you feel like you've already accomplished something. You've got up and made your bed, like we keep talking
Right.
about. You feel like you've accomplished something first thing in the morning, and you still have the entire day when
Right.
people are just now waking up.
And when you're getting up that early and you're exercising, your body is in hyperdrive. It's going to do more for you during the day than if you got up and shuffled into the kitchen and drank a cup of coffee,
Yeah.
read the
Loaded with
newspaper. Does
sugar.
anybody do that anymore? You know, check your news
Check
feed,
Twitter.
whatever. Yeah, getting up and exercising. I'm a strong proponent of that. And with what I do, I get the pleasure of seeing the world really awake when I'm out on the road. I get the pleasure of seeing the sunrise in the east. I get the pleasure of starting to hear the birds wake up and start talking to each other.
Yeah.
Occasionally a coyote run across the road.
Yeah.
A fox. Yeah, it's pretty cool. You do get to see the world come alive, and it's
Yeah.
kind of it's a spiritual thing, kind of.
Yeah, but to that end though, I'm usually in bed by, like you said, 8, 9 o'clock.
Absolutely.
So that kind of makes it difficult to find the hours for a side hustle though. So it's kind of a weird balance and a tricky spot that I'm in right now, trying to figure out, am I okay to not function at a perfect 100% in the name of bettering other parts of myself in a side hustle, or do I want to try to cram the hustle in before 8 or 9 p.m.?
I don't think you have to do either. I think you let go of the notion that we have a 5-day work week. I think you work on the weekends at your side hustle. Or think about
Okay.
how many hours of vacation Americans leave on the table every year. They
Yeah.
don't take their vacation, which they are only making their employer richer.
Yeah.
Take your vacation,
Yeah,
folks.
or
Take it.
aren't allowed to. That's one of the points that she talks about in this point, in this book, is that so many people have vacation and they either don't use it or take it and they feel guilty while they're on vacation. Like, God, I should be working, or man, I left my office with a 3-person staff today, and
No, take the vacation, unplug. Don't take your cell phone to the beach with you. And let nature be the entertainment.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people don't take vacation, and I know I was guilty of this when I was younger. I wouldn't take vacation because I thought, I can't afford to go anywhere anyway. I don't have the money to go anywhere, so why take the week off? Well, there's lots of state and national parks that you can go and you can camp for next to nothing.
It's weird you said that because me and my wife were driving around this weekend with my shoulder surgery. We're kind of tight on money. We're like, we're probably not going to go on a vacation. And I started thinking we could literally go camping every weekend for $20, $30.
Absolutely. Yeah.
true.
And the kids would probably like that more than us going to some arcade 2 states away
Right.
for nothing.
Right. And your buddy might have a mom that has an in-ground pool that never gets used, that she really wants used. And Travis, you didn't come over last year.
I know.
Yeah, that's your job, is to use
I was always working.
right. Your job is to
Hustling.
use my pool because I don't have kids that use my pool anymore. So
Well, you're telling a big audience right now to come use your pool.
How long is it? Because me and Dallas have to train for triathlon this year.
Oh yeah,
too.
tell her about that.
It's
good luck.
It's a super short or super sprint triathlon. So it's 300-meter swim, which Dallas thinks he can do right now, and I think he'll drown. It's like a 5-mile run and a 10-mile bike, I think. So pretty
It
easy.
sounds doable. 300 yards.
Swim.
300 yards.
Meters.
Is a yard longer than a meter? I can't remember. Come on, math teacher, help me out.
a
Meter's
meter,
shorter.
A meter is
Longer.
is about 39 inches,
Okay.
roughly.
That's
Yeah, it's a little
way
bit
longer.
A little bit longer.
This longer.
Over
It's like-
300 meters, though. 300 of them.
Isn't an Olympic-sized pool 50 meters?
I think so.
I think that's
Yeah.
right. And the Y.
6 laps.
So
the Highland County Y is like 25, I think, like half an Olympic pool, maybe.
I don't know.
So your pool is probably what 60 feet long?
I don't know.
That's all right. We just got to do a lot of turns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be rough. Well, especially the one you were talking about was in April, wasn't it?
No, I think it was in
Super
August.
Oh.
I don't know. I'll have
Is
to
it an
look.
open water swim or is it a pool
Yeah,
swim?
lake. Dallas said there's only, once you're out there, you only have one choice. I'm like, no,
You're either going to make it or die, so
Yeah,
you're probably
that's
going to make it.
2 choices.
Well, you know, I used to teach these indoor cycling classes, and I was really good at it. And I am decent at running. I'm not really good at it, but I can do it. I can hold my
Huh?
own. Yeah. And everybody always said, why don't you do a triathlon? I always thought I could swim. until I lost all that weight. And then
Now you're not as buoyant.
Then I realized fat floats. Fat floats. I thought I was swimming all those years, and I wasn't. I was floating and moving my arms. And then when I went to try to train for a triathlon, my body wouldn't move in the water. I would be kicking like crazy, and I'd be moving my arms, and I would still be in the same spot. Same spot. I even had got a coach, and she's like, Cheryl, I've never seen anything like this. I can't get you to move. So I gave up that idea.
Well, you should try the, what is it called? Sprint?
The sprint triathlon?
Yeah,
you
super
should-
sprint.
you
Although
should try that
I
one.
have heard that the wetsuit makes you float.
Yeah, I'm getting one if I do.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, especially if it's in a lake. I mean, you want that thing to be in August. I hope it's in August.
Right. Well, and I could never get the coordination either of arms, leg, turn your head and breathe. And
Yeah.
I would drink in all the water in the pool, the chlorinated, sanitized water. And then I think about getting out in the open water
Yeah.
and drinking that stuff. Ooh. And
You
all the
don't-
other people swimming over top of me, not staying in their lane.
Yeah. You don't know a boring job until you're a lifeguard watching a swim team. That's what I did in high school, watch a swim team go back and forth.
Yeah.
But man, those guys go for hours on end. I don't know how they do it. I mean, even as like kids, like little kids are doing this, just up and down, up and down, up and down. Like,
Yeah, I have respect, much respect for people that can swim, because I'm not good at it
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah, I don't know how people can swim for miles. Like an Ironman's like 2 mile swim or something.
Yeah.
That don't even seem
yeah,
possible.
I'm going to be lucky to get 300 meters. So
I'm ready to throw you in a lake right now. I'll be in a boat.
Let's go to the YMCA this afternoon. Give you guys a trial run.
Oh, I know I can't swim. I know I can't do it 300 meters.
yeah, so up and down, that's only 50 yards. Whew.
That's 6.
6 up and back. Yeah, I don't know. That'd be rough. That would be rough. But I got enough fat on me to float a little bit.
Yeah, I could float for sure.
I had something else I was wanting to talk about, but I lost it.
I could be your buoy. Whenever you got tired, you just hang on.
Just hang on.
You're like the big door out in the water. Just
Yeah.
Well, I'll bring this up to you from the article on crossroads.net. Maximize your time off to win at work. Here's how. One of the points that he brings up is this: value your family job as much as your work job. Your spouse is your most critical teammate. They will either elevate your game at work or hinder it, and the deciding factor between those two outcomes is the amount of work you put in at your other job, your family. The more you invest in your family life, the more your spouse will root for and support your work life.
it's a good statement.
Pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've certainly been guilty of that in the past. Just working nonstop. Yeah, and kind of pushing that whole side of my life to the side.
Yeah, so you were talking about not knowing like your balance of sleep versus work, and when do you fit in the side hustle. One of the things that I learned as I became a runner was that there's something called periodization. You train for different things at different times. You don't do the same thing 365 days a year. That during certain times you work on speed, and during certain times you work on endurance. And then other times you might take a little extra time off to allow your body to recover and your muscles to grow. And I think you have to look at your work life that way as well, and maybe your family life as well. I don't know that that's the answer with family life, but I feel like in my family life I've had periodization where there are times that all of my focus has to be at home. When children are very small, you have to focus a lot. But when they become teenagers, you're kind of the coach on the sideline. You're not, your hands aren't deep in it.
Take your foot off the gas a little bit.
Coast a little bit.
Yeah.
If you've done your job well as a parent when your kids are small, that period of time doesn't have to be as stressful. I mean, I was lucky. I've knock on wood. They're not all grown yet, but I was lucky that I had kids who followed my example and knew what I expected and what would make me proud and what would make their family proud, and didn't go off the rails. I know some people who have been fantastic, wonderful parents for 15 years, and all of a sudden at age 16, their kids go off the rails. And I don't wish that on anybody. But I think in my fitness life, I've had periodization. In my work life, I've had periodization. In my family life, I've had periodization.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd heard that term before. That's a good one.
Yeah, well, that's something to look into. In my work life, there have been times that I've had to put the gas all the way. I don't know if you remember when I went back to school, my job was being phased out. I started out my teaching career as a family and consumer sciences teacher.
Yes.
Home ec. They don't even teach that in schools anymore. I had to go get retrained, or I was not going to be a teacher anymore. I knew what was coming. So I had to go back to school at age 29 to get my certificate license to teach math. And I can remember hours sitting at the kitchen counter looking out the back window while you and Brad would be playing baseball in the backyard, because I was in that period of time where I had to nose to the grindstone, do something to make myself more marketable in the future. And so I didn't get to spend the time with you that I wanted to. But there were other times when I was the one in the backyard throwing the baseballs to you. Not as hard as Brad, but if you're looking for a side hustle, there may be a period of time where you have to say, I'm going to do a 7-day work week. It's not going to be 8 hours on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
But it's going to be 4 or 5.
Yeah, but you shouldn't try to kid yourself either and try to say this is just who I am now. I'm just
No.
Yeah.
No, I think you, in all things, balance.
Yeah.
For a period of time, I'm going to do this to set myself apart and get myself ahead.
Yeah.
And then when that's over, it's a new period. I do a different thing.
Yeah.
And I think that helps with the balance, and it helps keep your mind fresh and keep you from burning out.
Right. Yeah. We talked about like taking some time off and stuff. One of my biggest like kind of anti-burnout things are like quick little trips somewhere.
I call those reconnaissance missions.
I like that. I don't have a term for mine, but that's a good one.
Yeah, you go take a long weekend trip. One time I wanted to run a race in Seattle on my birthday. Now, you can't go to Seattle and not see Mount Rainier and Mount Hood, but I did. I went out there for a weekend, and do I want to go back? Yeah, but that weekend I got to go out and do a little reconnaissance mission, see what there is to see.
Yeah, it's not bad. Do you guys go on like weekend trips or anything like that?
Not to Seattle.
Yeah, well, no.
No, yeah, we do. A couple years ago, we were just sitting around on the weekend. We had nothing to do. We just packed up, went up to Put-in Bay, seen the lake and everything. Just
Perfect.
like that.
Yeah. I always feel, two things. I always feel so much more motivated and like ready to go after I get back from a quick little trip like that. But the other part of it is I just do not like long vacations. Like 3-4 days is like about the most I can handle. And after that, I'm like twiddling my thumbs like, okay, like let's kind of get back into it, you know. I guess I'm just too much of a routine type of person.
I think you get that honestly, because I feel the same way. There are a lot of places that I go on vacation that require a minimum 7-day visit, and it really bothers me.
Yeah.
Because about day 5, I'm ready to go home. I want to go back and see my dog.
Yeah, well, I mean, like myself and my wife on our honeymoon, even after like day 6, we were like, okay, we've seen everything there is to offer here. Like,
Right.
I miss my dog. Let's go back home.
Yes. Same way. Yeah, so that's why I like the weekend trip. A Thursday through Sunday is fantastic for me. I love that kind of trip.
Yeah, it's like you feel like you're totally charged after that much time away and not thinking about, work at hand or your side hustle or whatever.
It's just enough time away to recharge and not feel like you're further behind because you took that time off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the other thing that I was going to say about that is that while there's periodization, I think every person has to determine what they're capable of doing, how much time they do need off. I can exercise 7 days a week. And there were periods in my life in the past 11 years where I ran every single day. And I know people who run at least 1 mile per day and they never take a day off. But there are experts that would say, you can't do that. You shouldn't do that. You should take at least one rest day to allow your body to recover. But you know you, and you know your body best, and you know your circumstances best.
Yeah.
And if you can work your 40-hour-a-week job or whatever, 60-hour-a-week, whatever the case may be, and then you know that you could work a couple of hours on your day off and still be good, why not?
Yeah.
Why not hustle a little more?
You know, you can get a lot done in a couple hours too. You know?
Absolutely. Right. And I'm a strong proponent of get paid for doing something that you would do anyway.
Yeah.
For example, those years that I was teaching the indoor cycling classes, I would have been taking that
perfect.
class anyway.
Yeah.
So why not get
well,
paid for it
yeah.
and get a free gym membership out of it?
That's a perfect example.
Yes.
And Travis's DJ gig is a great side hustle, I think. You know, he sometimes doesn't like it. Look at the face he's
he
making.
begs to differ.
But it's something you enjoy, I suspect, at least a little bit.
A little bit. I enjoy more like doing this and like the weightlifting and stuff. That's why I had to find a way to get paid so I could.
Does it bother you that it takes up the time?
The DJing thing.
Yeah. And I mean, it's on weekends.
Because it's always Saturdays or Sundays or sometimes Friday evenings.
It's most of like the day on a Saturday.
Oh yeah,
right?
because most receptions you're looking at 4 hours. Takes me about an hour and a half to set up, about an hour to tear down. So 6-7 hours easy.
Yeah.
Like wedding receptions. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not like it's not a hustle that you like dread doing.
No, it's not that bad. Like I like doing this stuff. Like I've DJ'd like the Cincinnati March of Dimes walk. Like I like doing that stuff.
Mm-hmm. No, I think it's a good one. I mean, my little hustle kind of ebbs and flows. You know, sometimes I might have 3 projects going on at the same time, and then I might go 2 months without hearing anything. But you know, I'm trying to find, you know, a better gig at the moment. So,
But if you keep that one as well,
sure,
that can be your weekend getaway money.
yeah,
You stick that all in an account, and when you have enough, hey, let's go.
right,
It's not something you're counting on, but when it's there, that's pretty nice.
yeah. How far are we into this, Trav? About
A little over an hour.
good. Last question. What do you think of the Levi episode?
I couldn't hear Levi very
Oh
very
no,
well.
he was a little far back from the mic
Yes.
a little bit at times and a little bit shy. But
I was going to say that I do believe that is the quietest I have ever heard Levi. Levi is usually loud and proud and has an opinion on everything, and he was pretty quiet.
yeah, well, sometimes I mean our first episode we were scared to death to get in front of the mic and project our voice. So I imagine. I mean, he said he wasn't nervous at all, but I think there was a little bit of that going on. But
He also could have been tired because dude doesn't sleep.
yeah,
He woke up late that morning.
yeah, he was.
I'm
he was
shocked.
A little late getting here.
He's always waking up late because when he finally does get to go to
Yeah.
sleep, he sleeps hard.
Yeah,
Yeah, he is a hustler. Levi has been a hustler
yeah,
since he was a toddler.
yeah,
He would rather work than do anything in the world when he was a child, and it's never changed.
yeah. No,
I worry about him.
I'm very proud of Levi in that. You know, I know a lot of other kids that are his age, and you got to kind of remind yourself that they are the same age because their lifestyles and their work ethic are completely different.
He is the oldest 19-year-old I know.
Absolutely.
And when I would describe him when he was a young child, I would say that he's 5 years going on 20.
Yeah.
Because he is an old soul. And I mean that with the utmost respect.
Yeah, me and him have that in common.
Right. Maybe you get that from your mama.
Remember his first word? Tractor.
That's all he said for a year, I think.
Not mom, not dad. Tractor.
I believe he called Brad Tractor. I think
He
that was
did.
his
He
nickname
called
for
him
Brad. Tractor.
Well, Mom, this was a lot of fun and a good conversation, and I love topics like these because so often like they seem like something that you're not going to learn much about, but then you get into these topics and inevitably you learn a ton. And I don't know, it's Mark Manson talked about happiness as solving problems, and I feel like this podcast makes me happy because I'm solving problems that I didn't even know that I had.
You don't know what you don't know.
Right. So it's fun to have guests on that bring forth topics that you didn't know that weren't on your radar, but then you get into the thick of it, and it in some way these conversations are therapy for me. I hope they are for you guys, and for you too.
Absolutely, I enjoyed it.
So come back anytime. You think of another topic, or find another book that looks interesting, come on back.
I'll find one that is interesting next time.
Perfect. All right. I think that's all. I learned something this week.